Hello everyone, and in today's session, we'll be discussing about basic Hadoop administration procedures. As the last session was about managing Hadoop with Apache Ambari, how to manage Hadoop resources, how to manage Hadoop job, how to manage the cluster of nodes in Hadoop, and how you can manage those things with the help of Apache Ambari, which will be acting as like a interface, which will be acting like a UI interface. And I just want to recall the most important few points about Ambari. So one is it is a single control panel for the entire Hadoop cluster. And second, this Apache Ambari acts as a dashboard, which provides you a overview of the cluster. And it is providing you a few more sources like how you can add a user, how you can remove one user, how you can maintain other those things. And it is an open source tool. And as of today's session, we will be talking about how to control, how to have that administration, how to do the administration of Hadoop, how I can manage my Hadoop resources, how I can work with my Hadoop resources. And in this, Hadoop has two, uh, just give me a minute. Hadoop has two main areas of administration, and the first one is Yarn Resource Manager, and second one is HDFS file system. And there are few other application frameworks like MapReduce framework, and it provides you specific files in managing its configurations. And here, let us see how we will be configuring the files in Hadoop file system. And Hadoop is configured with the XML configuration files. And the basic files under functions are one is core default.xml, which provides you the system-wide properties. Second, HDFS, like which provides you the basic properties of HDFS file system. And third, MapRed, it is called MapReduce, which provides you the MapReduce framework. And fourth one will be yarn default.xml. So these are four basic files and their functions. And let us see in depth about how we are controlling with this kind of things. As I told you, like here, yarn has several built-in administrative features, and now we'll be talking about all those administrative features and how to control it and what are the commands that we use for doing that process. Okay, so basic Hadoop yarn administration. So here there are seven subpoints. Here there are seven features. So which we are doing with Hadoop yarn administration. So in each and everything we'll be discussing about each and every subtopics in the upcoming slides. And first, let us have a small introduction to all these things. See, decommissioning yarn nodes, where decommissioning, like where I'm going to separate it, where I'm going to separate a node from my admin, where I'm going to remove a node from my configuration, where I can alter the node in my networks. As a Hadoop is a cluster of group of nodes, where you can see a group of nodes which are working all together. And similarly, if you see if a new one node is getting failover, or if a node is getting failed, that particular node can be get removed. Or when the work is not balanced, when the number of jobs and the number of tasks in the system configuration is not balanced, you can remove it and you can make it to be balanced. And those things we will be discussing in decommissioning yarn nodes. Second, yarn web proxy. As the name you know, web proxy, it is which will be trying to act as like a server. And here this web proxy is a application server. It is a sub proxy server in yarn. And what is the use of this is which addresses the issues with the cluster web interface on application masters. And third one will be using the job history server. So what is the importance of this? What it is going to do is, so this is the one which is going to provide all Yarn MapReduce applications. And this managing Yarn jobs is how we manage the Yarn jobs. And here we will be managing with the application command. Like for example, if I want to kill any particular application, For example, if you want to kill any particular application, I can use the command kill and then followed by application ID. And next, setting container memory. And here Yarn manages this application resource containers for the entire cluster. And it does three things. One is managing second schedule, and deals with and the last one is setting MapReduce properties. The properties that we assign with MapReduce will be like map and reduce. So what a map function is doing, what a reducer will be doing. So these are the things that we will be discussing in related to Hadoop Yarn administration. So, and as I told you, like let us discuss each thing one by one. So setting container memory. So this is the one where like we will be trying to allocate application resource containers for the entire cluster. So this can be done in three ways. One is yarn dot node manager dot resource. So these are the three commands which will be there in yarn site dot xml file. Okay. So these are the three commands which will be there in yarn xml file, which will be helping us to set container memory in Hadoop. And setting MapReduce properties. As we're talking about MapReduce, we have seen some implementation of MapReduce. I mean, example of counting the frequency of words in a given text file. The way that we have done with the help of Java, where we will be implementing the concept of map and reduce with the help of Java, and we will be importing a set of functions, that's importing a set of library packages, and to support our things in the program. And it is also one thing that we will be doing with MapReduce properties. Right? So will be passing for this will like mapred.child.java.opts, which provides you a larger or smaller heap size. So this provides you a larger or smaller heap size for child JVMs of maps. And the second one, map reduce dot map dot memory dot mb, and this provides you a larger or smaller resource limit for map. This provides a larger or smaller resource limit for maps, and by default this will be 1536 MB. And again, it depends on the configuration. If you want you can extend it further. And third, map reduce dot memory dot mb. So as the name itself, it is telling reduce, which provides you a larger heap size for child Java virtual machines of maps. And by default, this will be 30M2 MB. And again, it depends on the configuration. And the last one, map reduce.java.opts, which provides you a larger or smaller heap size for child reducers. Okay. So this are the four properties that we use to set MapReduce in our application. And the next part will be decommissioning. So as a name, decommissioning, like if you want to remove host, if you want to remove a host node, if you want to manage where you will be able to, where you can remove the node from the cluster, it should be decommissioned first. Okay. And second is before removing a particular node, before decommissioning a particular node, and we shall assume that the node is not responding. Only the nodes which is not responding, which is not working, only we will be removing those nodes from our application. And third thing is we shall be having these interface screens. And at the end of this presentation, we will be having some presentation screens, like how we have seen a dashboard for Apache Ambari, which shows you the number of nodes which is currently running, the number of nodes which is currently alive, and the number of nodes which is dead. So all those things will be able to control it. And here the one thing to be get noted is the host may also act as a HDFS data node. That is the most one thing that you need to note in decommissioning yarn node. The host may also be act as HDFS data node. And I just want to remind you two more things. See, HDFS, when you talk about HDFS nodes, we are discussing about two things. One is the data node, and second one is the name node. So, which is something like a master node and a slave node. And using this, we'll be controlling the both things. And when you use Ambari, the host used to decommission the HDFS in a similar fashion. And Yarn Web Proxy. And this is a separate proxy server which addresses the security issues with the cluster web interface on application masters. And by default, it runs as a part of the resource manager itself. You need not to have any separate things to it. And when you config this with the help of Ambari, what you will be doing is you will be getting into yarn config view, and then you will be scrolling to the bottom and you will be selecting custom yarn site.xml slash, then you will be going for add property. And you can do it both in the standalone mode and in the other mode. And if you require, you can also add few elements to it with the help of yarn site.xml when it is required to do. And the next one is using job history server. So when you remove the job tracker, so job tracker is the one which you have discussed in HDFS architecture. So when you have removed the job tracker and when you migrate the MapReduce from a system to an application level framework, and this is the area, or this is the scenario where you need the MapReduce job history. And what I'm going to do with that job history is, so which provides you all MapReduce applications with a central location, and which is an aggregate of which will be showing you the complete historical reference and debugging. And you can get the settings of this JavaScript server with this command mapred hyphen site.xml file. In this file, I can found the settings for the job history server, and it is the role of using job history server. And next comes managing yarn jobs. So how can I manage the yarn jobs? So this can be managed with the help of yarn application command. And here we have few options like kill, list, status are available to the administrator. And here we have few options like kill, list, status are available to the administrator. And if I want to kill any particular application which is running in my system, I can do that with the help of kill application ID. What I can write is, I can write a kill and where I can pass the application ID. Okay. So it is the one way of doing this. Specifically, if you want to get the status of your application, to print the status of the application, I can use status application ID. Right. So this is how we will be managing your jobs. And next part is setting container memory. So we will be we can manage the resource containers over the entire cluster. So this can be done with the three important values. So one is yon.node manager.resource.memory MB. So which gives you the amount of memory the node manager can use for containers. Second, yarn scheduler minimum allocation MB. So which allows the resource manager, which provides the container like smaller than this value, and what is the minimum allocation value that can be set in a container, and this helps you in getting the maximum container, and the default value is 8192 MB, and this default value is 8192 MB, and all these are configurable. Okay, and the next part is setting container cores. So what is the difference between setting container memory and setting container cores? Like in setting the memory, we'll be talking about the memory allocation, and in this we'll be talking about the particular core where you can set the number of cores for containers. Here you will be setting, you can set, what you can do is you can set the containers, like you can set the cores, you can set the number of cores, you can set the number of cores for containers, for containers. And to do this, you can use three commands. One is yarn.scheduler minimum allocation, second maximum, and third and third one is the manner, and which gives you the minimum allocation for every container. So the default is one core, at least one, and maximum the default is 32, and the number of CPU cores, the number of CPU cores that can be allocated for containers, the default is 8. And the next part is setting map reduce properties. This which we have discussed in the previous slide. The next part is basic HDFS administration. And HDFS can be monitored in multiple ways. So one of the most convenient way in doing this is going with the help of name node user interface, where you can control the name node and the user node. And this is local host. It is not in, it is local host. I'll correct it. It is local host. And this is a web-based tool which provides you, which supports you in doing controlling information about HDFS and offering the capability for namespace and logs. Once when I talk about HDFS, I also will be talking about how to add a user into HDFS and how I can control the systems in HDFS. And next most in this, I will talk about fault tolerance, how I'm going to control this fault tolerance. ULERN. When I talk about this fault tolerant, I need to talk about the one more thing called secondary node, right? I need to talk about secondary node. Now let's see what are the things that we're going to discuss. And here we have the user interface with 5 tabs. One is overview, data node, snapshot, startup progress, filter. And the overview which provides you the essential information about the command line. Like if you open a particular user interface, with the overview will be helping you the entire thing that which is it is offering. Second, data nodes, which provides the data node information. And snapshot. And snapshot, it is a static, it is not a dynamic one. And startup progress gives you the detailed process timings. And utility menu offers two options. One is a file system browser. The second one is links to various names. And let's see one by one. So this is overview. So which gives you overview of the complete representation about your HDFS, like started, version, compiled, what is the tool ID, and what is tool ID, and security safe mode is on or off, and what is the configured capacity, DFS use, and DFS range. And when you talk about this kind of HDFS, here we have five tabs. One is overview, second data nodes, third snapshot, fourth startup progress, and fifth utilities. So in the previous example, like managing Hadoop, Apache Ambari, we have seen four nodes. One is Lumina, second node is node N0, N1, N2. And here this will be representing you the overview about this complete information about this node 1. So this is what how the overview works in HDFS. And second, data node information. We are looking about four nodes, N0, N1, N2, which provides you the information about all these four nodes. If you are decommissioning, if you are removing any particular node, which is because of a load failure or which is because of any other failure issue, then that particular node will be getting over decommissioning. Okay, that is why they under replicated blocks. And the startup progress. So once if you start the application, how much time it is required to start your nodes, and what about checkpoints, and what about edits, all these things will be in the startup progress. And the next menu is a browse directory. Mm. The next part is browse directory, where you can see the different directory users and owner of those particular application users and group. You can see how to HDFS and size, replication, block size, and name. So this is one related to MapReduce. And the next part is basic HDFS administration. How to add users to HDFS, adding users to HDFS, adding user to HDFS. And to get the complete information about this or to get the complete about this, you can get the information from HTTP hash. And let us see how to add a user manually to a Linux based system. How can this? And step one is add the user to your group of your add the user to the group on HDFS client system. And in most cases, this group name should be that of the HDFS super user, and which is often Hadoop. Okay. Second, create the user name directory in HDFS. How to create the username directory in HDFS using mkdir. And third one is giving the ownership for this directory in HDFS, like HDFS, DFS, username group, user name. And let's see about this. How to perform FSCK. What is in the FSCK is file system check. So the meaning of FSCK is file system check. Okay. So which checks the health of HDFS. So how about the condition of HDFS? How it works? If the status is healthy, or it returns the status is healthy or not. And second, the entire HDFS namespace can be checked or subdirectory can be entered as an argument to the command. And we have few other options like snapshots, open files, and management of corrupted files. And these are the other options like move, delete files, open for write, east, corrupt file blocks, locations, racks. So as you discussed, the one thing about like which gives you the which gives you how the system, I mean, which gives you the information about the system, like how the status is, whether status is healthy, like file system check, the status is healthy, and what is the total size? The total size is something like total approximately 498 bytes. And total directory, how many total directories are there, and total files, total symlinks, and total blocks validated, and minimally replicated blocks, over replicated blocks, under replicated blocks, corrupt blocks. And also you can see like FSCK ended at Friday, May 20 sometime. Okay. and next about basic HDFS administration. And this is what earlier we have discussed, how to balance HDFS. So balancing HDFS, we have a command called HDFS balance. And this is the command used for, and this is the command, this is simplest way to run the balancer. Okay. And second thing, you can set the balancer threshold value if required. For example, I can set the threshold value. Like when I write this command, I will be writing it as $HDFS balancer hyphen threshold 5. So what is the meaning of this? So where I can set the threshold as 5%, and the lower the threshold, the longer the balancer will run. And to ensure this, you can set even the bandwidth limit for this balancer. So how to set the bandwidth limit for this balancer? $DFS admin hyphen set balancer bandwidth new bandwidth. Okay. So this is where the way that you can set the threshold value, and this is the way you can set the new bandwidth. And this with this will give you the information about the maximum amount of network bandwidth in your system. And next thing is HDFS safe mode. So what does the safe mode? What does this? So when the name node starts, it's load the file system from the FS image, and which updates to the edit log file, and then it waits for the other blocks. And during this case, the name node stays in a read only safe mode. And when it leaves the safe mode, it automatically the data node which is next blocks are available. And the administration can place HDFS in safe mode by running the following command: HDFS DFS safe mode enter, and safe mode leave, safe mode get. So these are the three commands that we do with respect to safe mode. Decommissioning HDFS, and again we're discussing about the same thing, like how we can remove a cluster of nodes from Ambari, how this acts to do these things. Secondary name node, and this is secondary name node is used like to avoid long name node restart and other issues. We use secondary name node, and just remember that secondary name node is not an alternative for the name node. Okay, so what that can do, that is just act as an additionally add as an like a supplementary for this, which takes the previous file system image file and adds the name node file system. And further you can create a new file for this name node file when it restarts. And to this, you can use HDFS I dot XML, which defines the property called FS checkpoint dot variant. And this property provides the time in seconds between the secondary name node checkpoints. Between the secondary name node checkpoints. And HDFS snapshot. So this is where I want to tell you more important things. HDFS snapshots. And HDFS snapshots are read only. I mean, HDFS snapshots are read only. It is static, which you can't update something dynamically in a snapshot, which is just representing you like a screenshot, which you can take a snap of your mobile or snap of your application, which is running in your mission in that snapshot. And this snapshot again, it is not a dynamic one, which will not be getting updating. It is a static one. And the one more thing you should remember is snapshot can have a number of applications. I mean, it can show the information about different nodes or different set of blocks in a cluster. But nesting one within the other, that is not possible. Where you can't nest the nested snapshots that are not possible in HDFS. Okay, so you will not be able to do the nested snapshot. But whereas you can have like a tree structure where you can have one other the one. So snapshots can be taken on any directory, or the directory has been set as snapshotable. and which can also accommodate some number of snapshots. It is given 65,536 simultaneous snapshots. But this number is not a fixed number. This number is not a fixed number, or it is not a fixed block. It varies with your configuration, it varies with your system. And that's why it is given there is no limit on the number of snapshotable directories. And there is no limit on the number of snapshotable directories. And don't fix about this particular number, 65,536. Administrators may set any directory to be snapshotable. And for example, you can see a directory cannot be snapshotable if only one of it is nested. Okay. And this is one command which is following like DFS admin, allow snapshot, user HDFS, warranties, input. And this is one simple example file which are discussed in module 1. So which will be getting you the snapshot of that particular application which it is running in the system. So to create a snapshot, you can use the command snapshot / WAPI snap 1. So once if the file is removed or deleted, so it can be restored from the snapshot. And this restoration process is simply set as a simple copy from one snapshot to the previous directory. And you can do this with the help of like a snapshot / WAPI snap one path to restore the file. And then you will be getting the confirmation of that. And also if you want to make specifically something like unsnapshotable, that also can be done with the help of snapshots. So, and this is about snapshot. Now, this is about Hadoop administration procedures. Thank you.